What's up? This is Joel here at the Chicago Music Exchange, and I'm very, very, very excited to kind of do our first little demo of 65 amps. You can see I've got a wall of 65 around me. We just got these, and I have not been as excited about a new product as I am about these amplifiers. Pretty incredible. The one that I'm going to be doing the demo with is the Producer, which is kind of the flagship model of the series. It does pretty much everything that kind of all the different models in the line do, all thrown into one amp. It's called a Producer because literally you can get really any sound you could want in the studio or live on the stage with this one amp. And kind of the quick rundown is you have two channels. You have the American voice channel and then a British voice channel. Both channels have a push-pull bright knob, bright on the volume knob, and then both of them have the bump, which is like a boost, which is all foot switchable. Everything's foot switchable. Effects loop too. So I've got some reverb and delay. I'm going to be running through the effects loop for later on in the demo. But between the two channels and then the way their master volume, which is not a standard master volume, it's actually a master voltage knob. And what that does, I don't want to call it an attenuator because it's absolutely not an attenuator, but what it's doing is governing the amount of voltage it's making its way through to the tubes and basically picking how hard you're going to work them. So what the idea is kind of like a master volume, but with all the dynamics and all the vocabulary, as Dan likes to say, that your amp has when the power tubes are really working between your volume knob and the different settings on the amp. You don't lose any of the dynamics and the vocabulary when you turn down the master voltage. It just allows you to achieve those at a more manageable volume. So I'm going to start here with on the American side. I'm just doing a clean sound with a Les Paul here. This is a bridge pickup. So it kind of does very Fendery to my ear. I mean, again, his amps are not clones of anything. It's not supposed to be exactly this or that. It's just kind of supposed to be able to get all the best characteristics and the sounds that you like from your favorite kind of British and American amps from yesteryear and get it all in one package. So this is kind of, again, I've got it set up sort of like a Fender type clean, but to get that really kind of bright, bell, kind of like open, clean, like Fender, like a Twin or a Vibrolux. I'm going to pull the bright switch, put the treble up just a little bit. Obviously, when you got the bright switch pulled, you got the treble up a little bit, you're going to get more gain out of the guitar, especially if you're playing with humbuckers. We're going to use a Strat a little bit later on to show what it does with single coils too. So again, this is kind of just dialing in clean sounds. If you want something maybe a little more bassman-like, we'll pull up the bass a little bit, take down the treble. So obviously the British side of it is supposed to be the more high gain side of the amp, but the American side sounds pretty incredible when it's pushed also. And this one is a 6L6. They do 6Ls and ELs. You can get the producer either or, but this is the 6L. But when we switch over to the English side, you'll hear how you could still get that kind of high watt Vox, early Marshall, British chiminess. Also with the 6Ls, but also the same type of high gain sound. But here is a little taste of the overdrive on the American side. And we're going to use the boost. That's the volume about halfway. What I'm going to do now is pull back the master voltage a little bit so I can crank this thing and not kill my videographer in the room with volume here. So. So that's with the master pulled down. It still behaves when you roll the volume down the same way that you would want it to if the amp was totally opened up. And that's kind of the advantage of the master voltage switch. That is the American side. Now we're going to switch to the British. Got the master back up all the way so you can kind of hear the cleans. And the British side, it's never super, super clean with the humbuckers unless you dial back your volume a little bit. It's always got a little grit on the end there just because 28 watts, your amp will push it a little bit. But roll down your volume a little bit in the bridge and you can get some very cool, chimey, Vox, kind of high watt British sounds. And there's the bright switch again, so we'll flip that. that's with the volume at about, I don't know, 4 out of 10 on the British side. So now we're going to do the same deal. We're going to turn the master voltage back a little bit so that I can crank this and not kill people in the room. And so we'll get that volume cranked, bright switch off, and this is what it's going to sound like. This is without the boost, without the bump switch on. I'm just going to open this all the way up now so you can hear kind of the full amount of balls that the 65 has. It's pretty incredible. I mean, obviously you can do a ton of great clean and mid-clean, slightly dirty crunch, but if you want, this thing will do like screaming lead. I would call it like metal. I mean, I guess there's some super high gain stuff this can't do without like a boost pedal or something, but I mean, for most type of like kind of like old school metal or even like 70s, 80s hard rock stuff, this can get almost all of it. So this is totally wide open on the master, cranked on the normal volume. We haven't even used the boost switch yet on the British side. That clean was with the amp absolutely cranked. And just turn the volume down on the guitar. That's, again, this master voltage. The way these tubes behave internally is that you don't lose any of the dynamics, you don't lose any of the touch sensitivity at any volume, any amount of power. It doesn't really matter. It kind of can get you whatever you want. And then here is boosted. So that's kind of the full bore of what this thing can do. And then again, the master voltage switch, same settings, haven't touched it. We're still on the British side. We're still boosted. This is as gainy, as hot as this amp gets, and we're turning the master voltage down. Much more manageable. That is kind of the full gamut here with the humbuckers. Again, in my opinion, I've never played an amp that does as much as this does as well as this does it. It's 28 watts, so I know some guys kind of were still living in the 50, 100 watt world, and I'm definitely one of those dudes. But 28 watts, it's super loud. It does any clean, any dirty sound you want. As you just heard, you could do metal, you could do hard rock. We're going to do a little more ethereal stuff with the cleans with some single coils to let you hear how that sounds. It's not just a brute amp, it's very, very touch sensitive, great for cleans. You can do jazz, blues, really anything that you want, and it sounds just as good with single coils as humbuckers. So we're going to switch to those now. All right, so what I have here is a very killer custom shop Strat. We're going to be running through 65 so you can hear how the single coils sound, and then I have a Earthquaker Devices Dispatch Master Reverb Delay Combo Pedal, which I very much love, in the effects loop of the amp, so you can kind of hear how your cleans and your dirties are going to sound with something in the effects loop. And I will forewarn you, it sounds very, very good. It's a killer amp. So that's American side. We're going to go to the British side and kind of do the same type of thing.